Is that button set right?
The input is off.
I'll go fix it.
I wasn't sure how to fix that here.
My key.
See how to fix it? Yeah, actually, because I know it's going to pop up again.
Did you turn it on?
Oh,
Yeah, it's on.
there they go.
The video's on?
Oh, wait, I wonder if...
Video's on?
Yes. Oh, I got to start the...
It just wasn't displaying on the setting wasn't set correctly. I'd like to call the meeting of the Infrastructure Committee to order. And roll call, everyone seems to be here. So we have a quorum. Public comments. I don't see anyone here from the public, so we can continue. Approval of minutes for November 11, 2024. And before we actually get to the approval, I just noticed there's some things on here that we may just want to just follow up on a little bit, like the bridge thing. Louis, have you informed everybody on the committee of the outcome of that?
I can talk about that during your business. This is about the minutes. So.
Okay, so then you want to make that part of
Yeah.
new business?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's I think the only thing I had. I just,
Motion to approve then.
okay, second?
Yeah.
John did.
John.
John did. All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Discussion action on IDOT resolution for roadway resurfacing, installation of wider 5-foot sidewalk, landscape island. I think that's supposed to be bump outs.
Correct.
Diggins Street, Sumner Street. This has to do with with the work that's planned for Diggins, and where it meets the work that was done by the state on 14.
Correct. So
Okay.
when it's all done, Diggins will be complete from Front Street. Like right now, from Front Street to Lawrence, Diggins is done. This is an STP grant to go from Front Street to Sumner and then Sumner over to 14.
Yes, and the state wants a resolution from the city that if the pricing goes over a little or something like that, is that what this one is?
It's a joint funding agreement.
Yes.
So that we agree to set money aside for our portion of this project.
So our action, it would be to approve this resolution or to send it to the city council for a recommendation of approval.
What's our percentage of cost? I thought, what, 235 grand?
50-50 for phase one, 50-50 for phase two, 90-10.
But they're doing they've got 90%.
Federal phase.
We have an estimate of the overall cost of the project.
And our portion is estimated at $295,365.
What's the timeline?
Train is in 5, assuming they approve the contract time. Phase two is in
You have an idea where the pump outs are gonna be? Yeah.
There a motion to,
I'll make that motion. Send it forth. Second.
we should go around, I suppose, on this
Yeah.
one.
So, Schulz,
Yes.
Lavallee,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Gorman.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Next one is a discussion action on MOU regarding direct water technical assistance scope of work.
It says direct water, by the way, Chairman, but it's actually drinking water. That's what it's supposed to, is what it's supposed to say. So what it is, we had won a grant through IEPA to do essentially a capital improvement plan for both the water and the wastewater facilities. And so this is 100% covered. So this is just to make sure that we want to move forward with this. I did want to point out that we also have a project with RCAP, which RCAP is going to be focusing on like your asset management side of it. Delta Institute is looking at more the larger projects, like the pond, wastewater plant, the wells, the towers, and so on. All your high ticket items. But they're going to work together to come up with a master plan.
And this is 100%, right? I mean,
100% covered.
Now, to me, when I read this thing, it sounded a lot like a version of pavers for our water system. In other words, because that's pavers, that's what they did, is it was 100% covered, and they went out and checked, actually looked at the roads and so on and said, this is what we think you need to do. And that's what this is, correct?
Correct. They'll be working with Mike, and as mentioned in the memo that was attached, Jim Grant has also offered to make himself available to help provide some information.
Have you ever worked with these people before on anything?
It is supposed to start at more or less as soon as the MOU. Like, we've already started doing some preliminary work, but once the MOU is signed and sent in, they'll really start kicking it into gear with the projected completion date of September of this year.
There's no action for us to take at this time, correct?
Recommend the MOU
To the city
to the council.
Yeah, make that motion then.
I'll second.
Call roll.
All right. Let's go with Lavallee.
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Schulz.
Yep.
Motion passes 4-0.
Enough of the big one.
Yeah, that's why I had to take a breath. All right, so as you know, we've been kicking around some ideas as far as how to maximize the 1% sales tax that the citizens approved last year, or 23, sorry, in 23. So what we've come up with is, and this is just the 30,000 foot view, is to do a bond every 5 years. It's a $4 million bond. It puts out about $3.8 million towards road projects in the first year. The second year, we would actually, let me back up. We'd actually take the MFT funds from year one, which would be in 2026, roll it into 2027, and so we'd be able to put out about $450,000 for that year, and then MFT funds for years 3, 4, and 5, and that would be various projects. So then in year 6, we'd go right back with another bond, and right back the same cycle each year going forward. Now this is well set up within the 1%. It's front loaded, so by the time the first bond starts as we start to come close to the second bond, your payments start to drop down to where it will equal under $900,000 a year in payments, which is what our estimate of 1% is, or our safe.
Can we, there's really two things we need to discuss here. One is the project itself.
Yeah.
And the other is how would we fund it. Can we kind of divide those up?
Sure.
And I think we should talk about the project first.
Okay.
And then, just this, what we plan to do. Because how we fund it could be different based on,
Right, and the funding part will actually end up going to the admin committee for
at some
discussion.
point. yeah.
At some point.
Well, and
So-
the funding wouldn't, my understanding is that 2025 project, we were just going to go ahead and fund with what we got this year. And then we were discussing what to do 2026 going forward, which really isn't on the agenda here. On the agenda is discuss 2025 project, which is Air Street, right? And then we would discuss, we could discuss in strategic vision what Lou wants to talk about with the next.
So, and that's my apology, I kind of
Yeah.
put the cart a little bit
Yeah.
before the horse. What
It's
I
okay.
wanted everyone to see what the 30,000-foot view is,
Yeah.
and also for our listeners, and what this boils down to, the Air Street project. This committee and the council has already approved doing core samples. We've got Gary that's putting together a road master plan to begin in 2026. But what that leaves us is a question, what to do in 2025. Since we already know the substructure of Air Street and the surface itself is starting to deteriorate, what we want to do, or what we're suggesting, is that we put $605,000 out of the 1% sales tax money towards resurfacing Air Street. This way we preserve and keep that road moving forward.
650.
Thank you for correcting me on that. It's
No.
actually 605. Deb had left an updated memo.
Okay. Oh, got
It's
it.
actually 605 is what we're projecting. I wrote
Oh,
650.
yeah, no, you're right. Sorry.
I got a
Thank you,
little
Lou.
anxious with the money there.
That's okay.
Same with the MFT funds. In my memo, it just needs to be corrected to 225 instead of 250. And Deb's memo corrects that. So the reason why we're suggesting Air Street is because, again, we already know what the substructure is. And the whole point of doing the course samples is so that we understand what the rest of the roads look like underneath. Now, the happy news, we found out earlier today that the core samples have been done, but we still don't have a master plan, which won't be completed till later this year. So that said, we got to get ready for the May construction season. This circles back to why we suggest doing Air Street. It's a well-traveled road. It's at the heart of the city. And again, we already know the substructure. So this way we maximize our dollar amounts this year. That still leaves about a little over $300,000 to be carried over, of the 1% to be carried over into next year, and as we start to gear up towards the higher level project, which is the bond process.
Did anybody, I happened to come in and Deb gave me this. This is
Yeah, it's attached to the memo from Deb.
no, this is,
That's totally different.
this is different than
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry.
It's the actual breakdown that Christopher Burke put together for Air Street.
No, I don't have that.
Yeah, okay, seems like something that should have been
Well, that's
Probably.
okay.
sent out because, but anyway, it breaks down the individual costs across the board and so on.
Chairman, would you like me to go make copies of that for the committee?
Yeah,
Thank you, Rob.
yeah, thanks.
So that 375,000 from the 1%, we won't use any of it this year.
Correct.
Get like 70.
And that will go into 2026 with doing this bond that you guys talked about.
Right.
S-
Possible.
Well, I know, yeah, we'll discuss again. My concern with this, and I mentioned it when we brought this up last meeting in the minutes, is doing all of Air Street and nothing else when the people have voted for the 1% to fix roads, not just one road, roads. And we got this money that came in. We do have this 375,000 left over. If it actually only costs 605,000, I think we need to, if we decide as a city council, well, first here as a committee and then city council, I think we need the 375,000 to go to other projects this year. I know we don't have we don't have the master plan done. I understand we need core samples. Well, maybe put that more in the, because you talk about in your memo, 250 from MFT doing the skip patching and all that stuff. I think we need to do more than just Air Street. Because you say it's a high travel road, it is, but not everyone in town actually use Air Street daily or even weekly. A lot of people don't even go downtown Air Street.
Well, and to answer your question, again,
Well, that's businesses.
we don't know what some of the substructures are throughout the city. So there's a risk that we would open up the road and have an even bigger project without the funding for it. At least this way we know what we have. And again, maximize the dollar amount. Plus, if we go the route of the bond, we need to have at least 25% of the value set
So
aside.
my other concern is, I know, and this is devil's advocate right here, is say Park Point subdivision. Their base layer is nothing, right, Rob?
The base layer, so Park Point has a couple things. The surface layer is real thin, which is why it was raveling and coming apart. In areas, the base is thin, like what they put down. That's the biggest concern in Park Point.
Okay, so that has to be all reconstructed. Well, that was put in and it never got resurfaced. Air Street got resurfaced in what, 2008? Was that the year?
2008.
Yeah,
Because that's
20
when they rebuilt it.
Yes, when we put all the pavers. So Park Point came in, what, 98, something like that? So technically, that's actually an older one that you should probably, and I know it's a subdivision, so maybe we should look at that, because that needs to be reconstructed and do a bunch of that. But then you got people that live in the old part of town where Charlie lives and everything like that, that's not a subdivision, and they see, well, that subdivision is 20 years old, but my road's 50 years old. And these people voted because they wanted this 1% to help improve roads, not just the main roads, but the side street
But
roads.
no matter what you do, it's random.
And I can jump into Lou if you.
So to answer your questions, first off, as soon as we open up the road, your costs are going to start escalating, especially if you have to do the substructure. The other reason, and I just emphasize this the most, and that's why, again, I brought up the bond, is by going the bond process, we'll be able to put $3.8 million, which will accomplish a lot more than doing
I'm not against the
$900,000
bond,
a
as
year.
you know in other meetings, I actually think
Right.
it's probably the
But
better way to do it.
But to do the bond, we need to have at least $1 million set aside, which would be the $900,000 that we would gain throughout this year, plus a little bit of what we've already stored, more or less.
Okay.
So out of the,
Go ahead, Lou, I'm
so
sorry.
out of that 375, you'd still lose about $100,000 that has to be dedicated with next year's, this year's 1% to go towards the bond process in 2026. And we've run the numbers over and over, and actually by going through the bond process, Deb confirmed it earlier today as well, that we would actually get about $250,000 more, we would be ahead in the process by at least $250,000. So we're maximizing that 1%, which was the intent of the 1% sales taxes, to get as much road done. And by having a large project, the $3.8 million, you can get so much more road done versus just doing 960 this year. The rush is to try to get as much roadway done as possible. You can get so much more done by having a thorough plan and being able to.
No, and I get why we're doing the core sampling, like I said, I understand that 100%. And I know it'd be saying with gambling just 1 year, and I guess when we did this sales tax, and we knew it got approved, over a year ago, but it took us a while to figure out but it took, because that was only half year, we only got money. We had to wait till 2024 to get the full year picture, see how much we were really doing it. I guess my question is, why didn't we do back in beginning 2024, like, hey, core, we don't know what the cores are really, besides what Pavers tells us. I guess we should have, as admin, should have done this core thing last year, and we'd be ahead of the game, because this money is coming in.
And sorry, I'm going to jump in there. Actually, I've been advocating this project for quite some time. It's been taking a while to get through the process, through this committee and then eventually, hopefully, the council. So this has been a while.
The core thing, because I only remember.
No, doing a master
Oh,
plan.
yeah. Okay.
I've been bringing this up for a while.
And I guess maybe and sorry about that, Lou, maybe just the way I heard it wasn't the way from last meeting is what it came as.
And we didn't start collecting the 1% until January of 2024. So even if we wanted to do it in 2024, there was maybe 4 months worth, so about $320,000.
And I'm saying just doing the core sampling, because we knew that this year we would have the full amount, knowing how much we probably would average every year after that. That's what I'm saying.
And again, not trying to argue, and I apologize if it comes out that way. But part of the problem part of the solution that we've been trying to come up with is, do we do $900,000 a year, or do we do a bond process?
Yeah,
And
like,
through that
I'm not
whole
against the
long
bond
process-
thing.
Through that whole process, it made a lot more sense to suggest to this committee and eventually to the admin committee and council to go the bond process, because we can make the 1% go so much further.
I want to see the numbers on that.
And I came in after making copies, so I know there was some concerns about Air Street being the street selected. Part of the reason that we came to that decision is that right now, Air Street in the condition it's in, the surface is deteriorating. And if it goes much further, we're gonna need to do a reconstruct, which is very much more, then you're going down to the base, you're doing a bunch of stuff. Right now, it's a mill and overlay to protect the lower layers. While we're going around and doing the core sampling and taking care of things, throughout the city to see where our issues are. This is something we know the base is good. Air Street's very thick. It doesn't have a whole lot of rutting. It doesn't have a whole lot of, deflection or anything like that. So right now, while we're gearing up a plan of what to do and, working with Christopher Burke to get that done, some of the low-hanging fruit is doing something like this where we can mill and overlay. We know what the base is. This is going to add a lot more life to Air Street. Because if we go much further, we're going to be doing a large-scale project, and in an area like that, it's going to have a lot more cost to it. We could, mill and resurface, if Park Point ends up needing reconstruction because the base is bad, that requires more engineering, that requires more time. Air Street, we can look at it, we go mill and overlay, that's what it needs, restripe, and it's somewhere where we can make an impact that's very traveled. We get comments from, the city of Crystal Lake about how nice the flowers look on Air Street, so, it's definitely a well-traveled area.
I'm just saying, it is traveled, I'm saying, but not
Yeah.
everyone in town that lives in town travels it.
You say that of any street in town.
I know that.
Right.
But I'm saying, they voted for this thing, Charlie, for the side streets.
Right, well, and I think those happen, but those don't happen this year. There's like 300, the question I wanted to ask straight up front is, does any of this cost include the one block off of Brainerd on each side? Like in front of the bakery is horrible, it's falling apart completely. Okay.
Okay, you've got that
Yeah, okay,
area.
so it's the red, so that's where the cutoff is, the lines, that's where.
So on Brainerd, you can see I did not include any of Brainerd because that's covered under the federal project that you just approved the
No,
resolution
that's
for.
Sumner.
I mean Sumner,
Yeah.
Brainerd, yeah, it goes to the alleys, and then on Front Street, it goes to the alleys, except on the east side, it goes another half a block because that pavement's so bad. It goes to that blue line there.
Yep.
So those are the limits.
Did we get this in our packet?
This picture, I've never seen it. John showed it to me. Okay, we
Matt?
pass that over. But that was my question, but why not then do if all we need to do is save $100,000 to give us $1 million for the next year to do the bond, then let's do extra downtown, those alleys, even if we're just, because they're not high travel area, but they look horrible. If you just did the alleys with it, just milled it and resurfaced it.
But the alleys are concrete.
Are they concrete?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Are you sure they're all concrete?
They may not all be concrete, but I was just
Certain
looking
some
at
of it
was.
is asphalt, but I've advocated to do the alleys and have suggested to include that in a TIF that we're looking for downtown.
You can't-
Because the alleys serve all those businesses downtown. And there's never going to be a time that we will allocate money to it, but if you include it in a TIF, that's a good possibility.
The question about the alleys, because Gary, you mentioned because of the concrete, we couldn't take a little bit off and put blacktop over it just so that it's.
Well, I'll take it back that they're all concrete, so I think I was corrected that they may not all be concrete. You can't really, it's hard to mill concrete.
Because I've seen in other towns where, of course, concrete, because, the thing's been 30-some years, and actually they did it where I work. There was one street that was concrete, and there's so much things, they just took a little bit off and then put the blacktop over it, so now it's smooth instead of hitting every bumps because of the concrete, spalling and cracking and everything. So I didn't know if we couldn't do that with the alleys. To give it
Would
some
you
more
ever
life.
recommend putting asphalt over concrete?
No, it's going to spall right off.
I wouldn't think that would be.
County did it. County's doing it.
Hmm.
All their roads
Interesting.
Yeah, I would say like that's a
are,
good.
they know where the steel is.
I think Matt's point was, instead of just spending 605, why, show more is what he's asking.
Don't-
And,
Take that one.
Well, I think
His back.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
if we had all the money today, we would pay for everything. We
Right.
recognize
Oh, no, I get
that
it.
residents want their street
Right.
done.
Right.
And I recognize that not everyone uses Air Street, but I would dare say that the traffic on Air Street is significantly more than any other street in town, except maybe the major arteries like 14 and Airport Road and something like that.
Have anything to do with
Miranda
anyway.
Road. So at the end of the day, the question is, part of it is actually prevention versus, a cure, because if the deterioration continues, then Air Street becomes a much larger fix than a simple overlay. It becomes
Yeah,
an ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure.
I don't think the question here, Mike, is not do, I think we should do Air Street. I mean, it's easy for us to do. We can show the project, here's where we started, we got the money, and now we're building a plan to do this going forward. But we have to do this, or it's gonna cost us a lot more to do this 5 years from now, or whatever, so we're doing this now. And I think Matt is just asking, is there a place where we can spend, the extra, if there was
No, I think
200,000?
Matt brings up a very fair point. I mean, the residents want their roads done in
Yeah.
front of their house, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's suggesting. I think he's trying to figure out a way to do both, or maybe a little bit of one as well as Air Street.
And that's kind of the way, sorry, Mayor, I mean, say if we did half of Air Street this year, how's that gonna screw up if we do the other half the next year and use the other money with that? So you have the money to use to.
That's
show
something
off.
for the committee to hash out, but generally, my recommendation would always be, if you're gonna do Air Street, just do it all.
Yeah,
and
again,
get
I would
it
do it
over
now,
with.
it's cheaper to do it.
It's less interference with the businesses that are on Air Street, because they're gonna sustain some business loss while the street is being redone. If you do that again next year, I think your businesses are gonna cry. So, in the end of the day, it's up to this committee and the city council on how you allocate all that funding. City staff's recommendation is, hey, this year, let's do Air Street, dedicate some of the funding, excess funding, to be able to create the bonds, because you have to have a certain amount already in your account dedicated to your match or your bond payments for the bond. So that's what the administrator's talking about there. Maybe there's an opportunity to do some additional skip patching that would help offset some of your concerns.
Well, why
But that's
couldn't we
something for you
finish
guys to
McKinley?
discuss.
We started doing McKinley a couple of years ago, completely stopped that project, and we were ready to do it. I mean, they had,
Yep.
and so if my calculations are right, if we make $960,000, and we pull out $100,000 because we need it for the bond next year, that's $860,000 minus $605,000, it's $255,000, which is more than enough money to do McKinley based on at least 3 or 4 years ago when we were about to do it, and we never did do it.
The question is McKinley only going to be a grind and overlay,
Right,
or is it
that's
going to be a
true, yeah.
rebuild? That's the other part of it, because
I mean,
I don't know
core
what
samples
they,
are-
There's areas of McKinley. You can see them on some of the patches that were done where the base is in such poor shape that it depressed, pushed curb up. So I really do think that there's gonna be more to McKinley when we start to get into it.
Or you just take that 255 or 355, and the next year when you start, that's added on to the top of whatever you start that next year, right?
Well, I think in the memo, it also talks about, portion, the portion of this would be for Air Street, but then we still have the 225,000 of MFT money that can be used to accomplish whatever this body decides. If it's, full width skip patching like we did last year, we were really effective with it, and we got rid of, a lot of the big trouble areas where we can say, hey, we're doing air, but we're gonna take, this thing is extra sensitive today, sorry. We're gonna take that 225 and we're gonna do the same thing, working with Gary to figure out sort of where we anticipate things to start off with the road program. We can say, just like we did on Diggins Street. Diggins is gonna get resurfaced here with, grant funding eventually, but for now, we made it better to pass. We didn't fix the whole thing, but we fixed the worst spots.
Yeah.
And we can do that with the 225,000 to say, hey, listen, we're doing Air Street as a preventative measure. We need to get this done, otherwise it's gonna cost us a ton of money. We're gonna take this 225 and we're gonna do, Class D patches like we were doing, and we're gonna stop some of the bleeding to make it, you won't have to hate going down Fifth Street. You won't have to hate, just the skip patching we did in the beginning of Park Point, we got rid of all that skim. I'm sure the residents are happy not to have a bunch of asphalt in their yard from the plow. But just stuff like that where everybody sees some love via that program.
With this Air Street thing, will we accommodate with or work with Metro or not Union Pacific, actually, the crossing to get that flatter, better crossing as well?
We
We
don't do
can-
anything with it. We can
I mean,
suggest, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
when we had some panels pop up over there on Lawrence Road, they came out and fixed it. But this will only go to the limits of, the railroad, because ultimately the railroad is, I can ask again and see if we can have them help, but, this is,
Is that like 50 feet either side? What's the-
There's actually 3 sections in between the 3 tracks that would be theirs.
Oh, that's all?
So I didn't know if if this gets approved, to see, I know it's Union Pacific, I know they're big,
I could say that if the rest of the road looks great and they're the only ones with that bad spot, that might spur a little bit of action on their end.
I think that I'm for the Air Street thing. I wasn't sure about it at first, but it's the only thing that makes sense. It isn't just a wild crapshoot. I mean, if you, I don't care where you go in the city and you pick out spots and so on, you're never going to have enough to make everybody happy, and it's arbitrary. It's something. Even if you narrow it down to different types and so on, you're still going to be arbitrary because of how severe the issue is. With air, you can come up with, this is where Milk Days is. This helps us sell the city. There is a preventive maintenance thing. And now with our new plan and how we maintain the streets after we do it, we're going to get a lot more years out of it going forward. So, to me, it's something that can be sold to the citizens, saying that, we want our flagship area, the place that the parade goes down primarily, past the bandstand and so on, and that we want that to look good. It just kind of makes sense, and it's a nice kickoff thing too. You can kick off the whole new program and so on with that. So,
Where would we estimate construction? So many.
During,
The week before.
People would know we're doing something.
That could lead the parade, or could end the parade, follow the horses, right? Start milling the road right away?
Could you let before milk day so that they can start sooner after, so they're not all?
Yeah, you could schedule it before or after. You would have, after would give the contractor more time, but we could definitely, let it beforehand with a tighter window of construction.
I'm not saying to construct it before milk days, I'm just saying, get it out,
You mean let it?
let it before milk
Yeah.
days, and then have a, push a date of, or something, so we don't get.
Yes. I just want to reiterate that for Air Street, you're getting to that point of no return, where you're not going to be able to resurface it anymore to extend the pavement life. If you wait too much longer, you're not going to have that opportunity. And in my opinion, you have 4 major roads that are under your jurisdiction. Air, Northfield, Harvard Hills, and Crowley are probably your big ones, and east of 14.
East of 14.
Yeah, 173 east of 14.
Oh, Brink.
Yeah, Brink. That's yours too. Those are probably going to be your most expensive local streets to fix. Because everything else is county or state.
Do we have to have any money set aside for what's going on Moringa Road? Do we have money set aside for that already?
That's this year, right?
Isn't it this year, part of it?
Which one?
The road itself? Or is it just the bridge this year?
Well, you have 3 Moringa Road projects. You have the bridge, you've got 23 to airport, and then you've got 173 to air. And as far as I know, Deb has all those budgeted
Okay,
accordingly. And
so she has money set aside
yes,
for
it
that
has
and ready
not-
to rock?
It's
Okay,
not going to use any of this.
okay.
Belu, that this year, those ones? The bridge and then?
No.
No, not all.
No.
But
none
the
of them.
bridge and,
And we can,
No,
Yeah.
we're
None
still
of them.
waiting on the bridge.
None of them will be done this year.
Lou, would it have to go on bid on this?
what's that?
Would it have to go out
Yes.
on bid on this?
Yes.
You pretty confident with the number?
Well, it was a preliminary estimate, but luckily we had the plans that were done way back when in 2010, and I put my best construction engineer on that estimate, so we're pretty confident with that.
Good. And then,
Keep in mind that has no curb and gutter removal in place and no sidewalk removal in place. That is pavement.
It's pavement.
I don't think, okay, but that's in pretty good shape.
Curbs are in good shape,
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
good shape,
For the most part.
relatively speaking.
I make a motion, well, I think on this part, I think I make a motion that we pass this on to City Council for approval for the Air Street part of this project for next year.
Since Rob repaved some of it, can we keep that out and cut the cost?
No, I mean, if they're in, you want to get everything milled and surfaced at the same time. We don't want to start with, well, we're going around. Plus, what we did there is, it was essentially a maintenance patch to get us to the point where, because it's not it's 3 inches. The rest of Air Street's quite thick.
Yeah.
But it was like an archaeological dig to get, there was like asphalt, brick,
I would say, yeah.
asphalt. It's just we saw every bit of different surface.
I did think of a question that everybody's going to hate to hear, but is, what about the infrastructure under the street? Is that pretty solid now, do you think? Or are we going to put this in, resurface it, and then dig another hole and patch it?
I mean, the chances of us having the main breaks on Air are, we had one in the couple years that I've been here. I think a lot of this stuff was touched in '08.
I don't know how much new water main.
I thought they did a
was
bunch
put
of
in.
it.
I don't know, wasn't much.
There was some that was addressed with the reconstruct. I know the guys ended up having to do new service lines, new taps, that kind of stuff. But the chances, I can't without ripping everything up and putting a new in. I can't.
Yeah, you can't guarantee that.
arbitrarily, yeah. I can
Well,
tell
I
you,
know-
I wouldn't be repaving Garfield Road anytime soon.
There's a motion.
There's a motion, there's a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead and,
Gorman,
yes.
Perkins,
No.
Schulz?
Yes.
Lavallee?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1, or the recommendation passes 3-1.
Now, do we need to put together a plan for what to do with that $225,000 for skip patch? I mean, I think skip patching makes the most sense.
And if that's the direction of this body, then, I will start evaluating locations with the guys, getting an idea of what we sort of have to work with how many square yards that'll do. It's gonna be a big program. I know Chicagoland.
You don't have to do any sealing though, right?
We can't do sealing with MFT. So like the rejuvenation, that's, the IDOT was like experimental, get out of here. We might be able to do crack sealing, but, I think the last time that Gary and I drove around, unless we're talking about possibly doing areas up by Autumn Glen or, Harvard Hills Crowley, which might not be, I think we're kind of past that point. We're starting to get to the limits of preventative maintenance, but stopgap patching where we're gonna take, sections of failed road and pave. I think that we can certainly find places for that. The rest of Fifth Street,
$225,000 worth?
I believe so. I mean,
That goes a long way, too.
yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah, that's fine. And then leave the $355,000 for the next year. Because I think once you put together your master plan, and if we do a 5-year bond, that first year, man, you could crank.
Yeah.
Big time crank. I mean, actually, that first year, you're gonna do everything, right? You're gonna do 5 years worth in 1 year. And so the idea is really, so Matt, obviously, people have to understand, right, you don't see benefit from that tax right away. It was gonna be a
Well,
whole
yeah,
year
we know
again.
that.
So,
It's more of a, but they know the money came in now.
right.
They know
Oh,
it
no,
took time.
I know, and we can tell them this is what, this first year, this is what we're doing, and then this next year, here's the master plan, and here's what we're doing. It would be like, so our normal was $200,000 a year, right? So you're looking at $5 million. So that's 25 times the amount that we've ever done, we're gonna do in 1 year. Now, that's all you're gonna see, right? Because then it'll be 5 years from now when we do it again, right?
Well,
I
if
think
if
that's
I
how I was
can,
gonna explain
correct.
that.
So you're doing about, the most you've done in any 1 year is roughly 300,000.
Okay,
So the 3.8 million, you're doing almost 13 times you've
13,
ever
okay.
done in a single year.
Right.
And you're maximizing the economies of scale, getting even more road work done. We're just talking dollars, not the actual value that you're gonna get out
Yeah.
of it. And then in year 2, you're gonna dump, or you're gonna be able to do another $450,000 in MFT funds. That's still almost 3 times or twice as much as you've ever done in a single year. So, and then
where
after
did-
that, it goes down to 225 for years 3, 4, and 5. So you're
How come
still moving forward.
How come MFT doubles in that one?
Because what you're gonna do is, since you're already using a lot of your bond money, or actually all of your bond money for road, you're gonna take your MFT funds and roll it over into year
Following
2.
year.
So again, you can maximize how much work you can get done. The bigger bulk you buy, the more you can stretch those dollars out.
May I speak?
yes.
I just want to caution you guys about saying, hey, we can do X amount of miles of road with this money, because don't forget, all these years past, we've only milled and resurfaced. Now we're going to be reconstructing, so you're not going to get as many miles of road when you reconstruct than you did when you resurface. So just be careful how you present it.
Well, and actually, he brought up a key word there too, presenting. So the other reason why we're bringing this up is not only be able to go out to bid and get things lined up, it's also, there's a lot of confusion and there's expectations about the 1%. We'd like to get as much time possible as far as staff to get the word out of this is what we're doing. And that's why, again, we're coming here today to try to get a recommendation, and then to be able to go to council with that same recommendation to try to get the word out as soon as possible.
This word.
The, do an Air Street and then the skip patch.
Yeah, okay. When Deb ran the numbers on that bond thing, what is the cost of the bond over the period?
I don't have that in front of me, but I'll have that I've actually asked our bond counsel to update, because we're going by numbers that were given to us way back in like July. So we need to get updated numbers.
So I think for the next meeting, Charlie, this meeting, we needed to take care of
I
2025.
was just gonna say, I think we need to kick this down
Yeah.
road. We could kick it to admin if you want. I mean, you're gonna have to look at it anyway. I
Well,
don't
they
know.
won't be able to look at it on
Well, as far-
Wednesday. Their agenda's already done.
Yeah,
As far
yeah,
as
that's
bond,
true.
well, actually, I was gonna bring up the bond discussion to start the conversation.
Yeah.
Under new business. But, as far as, the road project, as Jay indicated, we needed that approved for 2025, and then the bond process, that's gonna be a long discussion, and
Yeah, yeah.
really, in order to maximize 2026, doing the road project, we really don't have to have the bond approved, if that's the route we go, until January of 26.
I think we've accomplished what, the big thing we needed to accomplish today, I think.
Do we need to give Rob direction, though, on the
On the skip patch?
MFT money? The
Yes.
220 Okay, so what's our pleasure here? Is it skip patching?
That's what
Yeah.
we're suggesting.
So I make the motion that MFT funds for this year, or 2025, are used for skip patching.
I'll second.
Lavallee? Perkins?
Yes.
Gorman?
Yes.
Schulz?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Recommendation out of that.
Strategic vision. I'm just gonna go through some, Lou and I had a discussion on this, earlier, or last week, I guess it was now. Infrastructure plan in place by 2025 and shared with community. Well, that's obviously, we've gone a long way on that, and it looks like we will be able to hit that goal. Street improvement increased by 3 times beginning in 2025, and we are on track for that, and then some, I think. Road maintenance plan in place to achieve a PCI pavement condition index of 52. We discussed this, Gary, and, since you're gonna use your system and not the paver system, that's where that came from, that 52. Can you, what would that be in your,
I am using the paver data.
you're using their rating system?
Yes,
Oh,
you paid for it, I'm using it. All I did was, since it was done so many years ago, and we've done road programs since then, I've updated the streets that we've improved with new PCI data. But no, I'm using that data. You paid a lot of money for
no, I
it.
know we use the data, but the rating, that they come up with, you had a different criteria for, and it was like 4, I think it was 4 areas on what you handed out
I'm
last time.
using theirs.
Okay. All right, well, okay, let's discuss that then. What is that what you're looking at then over the, I don't think you can hit a 52 is what I'm, even with the 1%, that look like if you look at the graph and look how that works,
If you're asking me, can I bring your overall city's PCI up to 52 in 1 year?
No. It's, over, see, road raises place in PCI condition 52. Actually, we didn't put a date on that, did we?
Oh, then I can do it.
Good job, Gary.
Well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're more familiar with pavers than I am. But wasn't it, they originally estimated about $8 million in order to just get some
So
of it?
in order
year.
to stay where we were at, we had to spend $3.3 million a year to stay at a 38.
Yeah, that's right.
So in order to get rid of any sort of backlog, we are sort of beyond our limits. But I think with, the work that everybody's put together, this body, Gary, all the stuff that goes into this, You know, the other stuff that we're not thinking about is, yes, we have $3.8 million going to this program, but we're also getting Sumner done at the same time. We're talking about Marengo Road. We're talking about the other part of Diggins. Like, there's the federally funded and grant programs that are going on in addition to this, where, you know, you're going to start seeing all these different things hitting, and, you know, it's really going to all come together.
And if you've got, I'm going to belabor this point, in some cases, like Gary pointed out, we may not be able to get miles, but we're going to be able to get the substructure built properly, so that down the road, when it is time to strip it, the surface off, we can resurface it and not have as much of an expense. This is going to be a long-term process. We didn't get here overnight.
Yeah,
We're all gonna
Okay.
be long gone by then, though.
yeah, well, I
Someone
know
else's
I will be. And then the last thing on here was, well, wireless access available downtown, and I guess that's gonna definitely on track to happen. Water and sewer infrastructure. You know, when we did this vision thing, you know, for some reason, that got left off. So, but when we changed the name of this committee from Transportation Committee to Infrastructure Committee, the sewer and water came with it. So we wanted to add that, and, you know, what goals and so on do we want to try to accomplish for the next 20 years in that department, what needs to be done. And just like we just did with the road thing, you know, and how we can get to where we want to be, we have to look at the projects and so on that are required for that. You know, for example, you know, the checking all the sewers. There's terms for this, and I can never remember them. But where the rainwater gets into the sewer system and all of those things, and the smoke testing and all the, you know, to find out what we really got to do, how much it's going to cost to fix, and what schedule we should fix it on within. So we need to get started on a similar program for that part of infrastructure. So we can include it the next time we meet for vision. What?
Oh, I was going to call it a bonus round, or bonus points. In the 25-26 budget that we're proposing, we are proposing $145,000 towards smoke testing, so we can see where the issues are. So, sorry, flow monitoring.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we've been in talks with a company that does flow monitoring and modeling, and through Christopher Burke was somebody that they work with. And what we're proposing is, you know, we can take a look at lift station run times during rain events to find out sort of in non-gravity basins where we see increased flows. What we don't know is areas of the city that are just gravity, that just go to the plant on their own. That's where we don't, that's an unknown. So one of the things that we've been talking about is talking to this RJN group about putting in 4 flow monitoring devices in gravity basins, so we can start taking a look at, like, all right, well, is this basin an issue? Is this basin an issue? And this, you know, and then from there, we can use that to move forward with, all right, this one's bad, we need to smoke test it. We think we got a lot of I&I, you know, it comes on like a light switch when it rains, building that to go into the future.
And then other things you'll see when the proposed budget gets presented is more preventative maintenance in like the valves. And then earlier this same meeting, this committee made the recommendation about the MOU regarding developing a capital improvement plan for water and sewer. So this is where what you're talking about, where we've now today alone made huge strides forward.
Well, that's good. That means, you know, we can hit that one too.
And it wasn't even on there, so we've already slam dunked it.
All right.
Your goal's too easy, Charlie. You hit them all, you made them too easy.
That's right.
Well, we've made a lot of strides in this last couple of years. You recall back, just 3 years ago, we were doing road work. we were just doing, overlay, just throw asphalt down. And then 2 years ago, we shifted towards preventative maintenance, and now we've got core samples done. We're developing a master plan, and we're, with the 1% help, and thank you citizens for voting for that. We're setting together a plan to get everybody's roads done over a period of time. So we've made a lot of huge strides in the last 2 years.
Good. New business.
All right,
Roger Moore.
Yes, so,
Oh, okay.
earlier this budget year, I had reached out and talked to Region 1, Jose, and we talked about it. He had sent over the actual agreements that we have pertaining to the Route 14 bridge. And in there, actually, the weeds and the snow plowing on the sidewalks is actually our responsibility. That's what the council at the time agreed to.
What year was that? Curious.
07?
How did Dave not know that?
Well,
But it doesn't matter. I mean,
but
if
I'm
that's
still
what,
diving through
yeah,
all of it
that's
because
okay.
there's 3 separate agreements, but we did talk about the damage to the rail.
Yeah.
That's a special part, so it is on their to-do list to get it done. It is also on our radar, so we will continue to press to get that done. And as I finish out the agreements, I'll try to come up with a memo, kind of give you the highlight reel on what those agreements were.
Okay, so then going forward, city staff will remove the weeds and handle snow removal.
That's what well, I know, I saw that look.
I don't think you need to do both sides of the for snow. I think only one side needs to be done, and I get it; it's a pain in the butt. But there's people that walk over that bridge, and you see it all the time, And we should have a clear side, and then maybe we close the other side. Put up signs that close. This side's closed for the winter. This is the side you use.
So this is something that we have to
Salt
make
it
plans
yeah.
on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Again, we were just made aware of this last week.
Okay.
And as well as, I believe there was a question about additional lights to put on.
Right,
the
there were
bridge.
lights on the bridge at one point. They were removed.
There were, but according to the agreement, that was strictly the city that was going to be doing that. That wasn't them. They were concerned with the bridge itself. Again, I'm skimming through it, and
Yeah.
but I'll come back with a more detailed report.
Thank you. I
Right,
appreciate
thank you.
that.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure that, that you're pretty passionate about that, Jay, and I imagine you still will be, regardless of who's responsible.
Well, we had someone that was killed on that bridge a few years back. Now they, I know that they were walking on the bridge.
Oh, I know, I'm
Yeah,
not being sarcastic. I mean,
Right.
you were passionate about it.
right.
And now that we found out we can't blame,
Dave was hiding it from us the whole time.
it's still important, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Well, if it's us, if we agreed to do it, then we should do it.
Yeah,
We just have to have a plan for it.
right.
Going
And
forward.
that's what we need to do is have develop a plan for
But it
how
doesn't. It looks, during the spring or the summer, when those weeds are on the bottom edge of that, it looks bad. It's something that if we're paying guys to go out and mow, they have someone take the weed eater to weed it, or maybe spray it and kill it all, and then we don't have to worry about it.
So because I've got to say something at some point. Just like this committee just found out, we just found out about it. Whenever over time, things fall through the cracks.
Yeah, that's fine.
We've been making a lot of changes on things because of things that have happened in the past, and we're just learning what went on. This committee just found out about it, about the Route 14 bridge, and the council. I don't think there's a single member on the current council that was there in 07, 08.
Mike would be he was.
Mike, but yeah,
I
but
did
that
find
He
out
wasn't on
that-
council yet. He was not on council yet.
I did find out, and they're probably watching right now, there's a staff member that used to be on council that was there when that was agreed upon.
Okay.
No, I don't think she'll claim it either. And I'm surprised my watch didn't blow up all of a sudden.
If, any other new business?
I just had a question for Gary. When are you gonna have that, when are you having that report ready with regards to the road conditions and basically our plan going forward? When are you gonna have that ready?
Oh, let's call it late winter, early spring.
of this year.
Yes.
I'm only saying that because we should, once we get that, get on it right away. If indeed we do have a program like, if we do the bonds and we have that kind of program, that's gonna be a lot of work. And it'd be great to get that out early in the year, get it let and get it going.
Yeah, a lot of number crunching to finish that study.
Well, and part of that.
I'm good with your timeline.
And part of that is letting Gary know how much funding is available. If we go with $900,000 a year, that significantly changes the plan and the direction that Gary was kind of chided into earlier today was assuming that the bonds are the route, which again, we'll be able to present later. We can stretch the dollars out further.
I'm going with that assumption in order to meet that timeline. I have to wait until the end of February to get an answer, then the timeline I just gave is going to be delayed.
Any other?
I'm okay with that too.
Any other new business?
Since I know we have a new diggers, how's the surf stuff going?
They were out there tonight.
Yeah,
I'm
in the
like,
dark.
what are you doing? It's dark.
Dark.
It's going a lot better than it was before.
Hard to see them.
No,
Driving down
that is the
14.
scary part. I agree. It was
I think
very dark.
they just started back up today. There was a significant gap between RLM and the new company. They just redid all their locates.
Yeah.
They extended the dig tickets. They're gonna start with a crew this week, and then in another week, they're gonna do a second crew. They're not gonna be as ambitious as RLM and have 3 or 4 crews going at the same time. I've never went through so much marking paint in my life. But, so they're gonna do an attainable 2 crews is what I was told.
And to the citizens out there, I've already been fielding some complaints as far as when they come back through and do repair work, whether or not it was up to satisfaction, and I've been going back to Surf Internet about that. They've done a great job as far as responding, so to our listeners out there, if you do have an issue as far as the repair work that's done in your yard based on Surf Internet, please reach out to me so I can make sure to let them know and get on about making it right. I'm going to try to stop talking.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Are they doing that surf in your ward right now?
They're not anywhere by my house. I'm up by the junior high, so.
Is Charlie though? In Charlie?
I think it's still recording,
Yeah,
right?
north of
Streaming?
Charlie. It's north of the cow on 14 on the right side, like 2 blocks up. They were working.
It's Ward 1 and 3?
Diggins.
Yeah, north of on 14 on Diggins.
Yeah.
On the right, just north of the cow.